You know, Ely is sitting at a very high elevation of 6,500 feet here. It's just considered the high desert, but it's actually got 4 unique and different seasons. We have our big seasons that we all have a lot of fun in, which is our winter and our summer. And then we have the shoulder seasons, the spring and fall, which are spectacular here in the mountains. Ely sits within several mountain ranges, which is located all around us here. The state of Nevada is one of the most mountainous states in the Union, with 314 different mountain ranges. Most of the mountains around Ely go in excess of 10,000 feet, the highest being 13,000. So we're up here in a very high area. So we have 4 unique and different seasons, but we play hard in 2 of them. And the one that I play the hardest in is definitely the winter season. I'm a Christmas fan. As you can probably see with some of this video, that I've been building Christmas displays and putting on Christmas events all my life. My mother started me on it when I was a little guy. I'm fascinated by the thought of Christmas and what it does and means for people. We have other winter events that I think is very, very unique. ABA, which is the American Buzz Association, came out and had a committee meeting here, and we taught them a little bit about White Pine County and one of the big events we have, which is the Fire and Ice Show. The Fire and Ice Show has made the ABA's top 100 event in North America 4 times. And what that is, it's a ice sculpturing and fireworks display on Cave Lake, the state park out here. What's unique about it is if you've seen fireworks displays, you've never seen anything until you see it bouncing off mountain walls, dressed in white, and the actual radiance of the fireworks is second to nothing you'll ever see. I mean, it reminds me kind of the Northern Lights. You know, it's got the bright, vivid colors. But even more, another unique event, or more unique than even the fireworks and ice sculpture on Cave Lake, is that we start that weekend off with a fireworks train. And it's one of the only one we can find in the world, and I've checked and checked and checked and checked, trying to find where I can find another fireworks train. Now, you can find over 1 million different railroads throughout the U.S., and Europe, and China, and Asia, and all over that actually have fireworks trains. All of them take you to the fireworks show. This is not the way it is here. On the Friday before Martin Luther King weekend, or it's a Saturday night, excuse me, we will have engine number 93, which just celebrated its 100th birthday in 2009. So this year it'll be 103 years old. We'll fire her up, take her out, and when she comes back into town that night, the final car on that train will be a fireworks car. And as it's coming through town, we shoot the fireworks off of a moving steam engine, 103 years old. And it's pretty spectacular, let me tell you. We have, actually, after we have the Fire and Ice Festival, which we just talked about it for a minute, 2 weeks later, we have the Rotary Club here, local Rotary Club, puts on an ice fishing derby. And it's kind of a unique derby as well, because instead of just having one tagged fish, there's several tagged fish out there, and every year they give away the big prize. Regardless of whether you catch it or not, any tagged fish goes in the pool, and somebody's going to draw for the big dollars. I believe they give $5,000 away on that fish, plus boats and all kinds of stuff. It's always the weekend before Super Bowl, and it goes up to Cave Lake, and we've seen as many as 2,000 anglers on that lake, and it's unbelievable with concession stands and people coming from Las Vegas is our primary market for that. You wouldn't think the people in the South that like to be toasted and roasted all summer long come up here and freeze their tail feathers for the ice fishing derby, but they do. They come up and they fish and they fish and they fish and they have a great old time, and so far it's been just a wonderful event, and it brings a lot of people. Actually puts January, which is our Fire and Ice and Rotary Ice Fishing Derby, into one of our better room tax revenue months of the year. Summers are always good, because, like I said earlier, because of our elevation and cool climate and golf course and all the fun stuff. But in the wintertime, to get people to come up here and bear the bitter cold, you wouldn't think that'd be possible, but let me tell you, I know right now, just across the way here for the Fire and Ice weekend, they're already sold out. So it brings people in to have fun in Ely, Nevada in the wintertime. What a great place to go. Born and raised here, and my dad was born and raised here. My family's been here for generations. I think Ely is special. I mean, the freedom. I mean, I think, I know that you don't want to hear this, but what I always tell people on the road, you know, I think one of the best things about Ely is it's still a small hometown. It's 200 miles from the nearest Walmart. It's the most remote airport in the continental United States. And it's just a wonderful place you come and you can have a good time and, you know, not have to worry about I don't know, I mean, I have fun in Ely. And anybody that's ever came here as my guest has had fun here because it's got that small town atmosphere, hometown feeling to it. I don't know how to explain it. it's a winter wonderland in the wintertime where you can come and you brave the snow and the cold and watch the snowflakes melt on your nose. I mean, it's a place to come and see. I mean, it actually is, with the mountains around it and the wildlife. Yeah, especially this time of year where the elk herds are in the valley floors and the antelope are in the valley floors. You know, we have as many as 2,000 head of elk winter just outside of town here. I mean, it's just a fun place to come and see and ride the steam engine, play with your family, and just enjoy yourself. And you don't have to worry about traffic, that's for sure.
This building was built in 1907, and Nevada Northern equipped it with machines to do machine work on their locomotives and cars. And it's been here ever since. All the machines that are in here still work and operate. And it's been kept up rather nice. Nice place to work in.
Tell me about what's the particular 93 behind you.
The engine 93 was built, they received ownership of it January of 1909. It's an American locomotive company that built it. They used it mainly to run from the pit up there, the copper pit, over to the smelter in McGill, back and forth. And it was in service until they started using the diesels, at which time they parked it in a museum here in town. And later on, the group, Nevada Northern Railroad down here, got it out, restored it, and been using it to haul tourists on ever since.
How unique is this particular city, Ely, Nevada, as far as railroads go, and how unique is it, and what makes it special?
This is a special operation here because it's complete. Everything, the day they shut it down, is still like it was back in, I think they shut this down in '78 and laid everybody off and just give it to the Railroad Foundation and the city of Ely and left it operational. And it's very unique in that they have a lot of trackage to haul passengers on. They cover a lot of territory. The only bad thing is we're kind of isolated here, and people have to travel quite a distance just to enjoy this railroad. But it is a unique place. I've worked all over the United States on locomotives, and this is the most unique, complete railroad that I've worked at anywhere, even on the East Coast.
It's a fun place to bring your family and visit a little bit of history here?
Very much so. They have guided tours. They have a lot of information. Even the locomotives, they still have the original blueprints on them, all the dimensions, any specs you need. This is a very complete operation.
How many places like this in the country?
This is the only one like this, but there may be 200 or 300 similar to this, but that's complete since it started. This is very unique.
Sweet.
Could we have them talk a little bit about the rebuild in 2008?
Yeah.
Yep.
Gary, tell me about the rebuild that happened here in 2008.
In 2008, we'd had the engine over to the Olympics in 2002, at which time prior to that we did the upper end. We did the boiler, the tubes, rebuilt the top end, and at that time we knew the bottom end needed rebuilding too. But we didn't have the money or the time, so we took it to the Olympics, did that thing, brought it back, used it some more, and then in 2008, Mark Bassett was good enough to get the money put together to do the bottom end, at which time we pulled out all of the axles, the wheels, the bearing boxes, the pistons, the rods, side rods, all of the running gear, as it's called, and trucked most of it to Bonneville Machine in Salt Lake City. And they were kind enough to let me come in and do a lot of the work. They did a lot of the work, and it was a real good working relationship with those people. And we got everything made. We made brand new axles, new bearing boxes, bearings for the axles, returned the wheels, completely rebuilt everything like brand new, brought it back, and it's been running ever since.
So is this thing ready to roll for quite a while now?
The way we use it, it'd probably be good for 50, 60 years.
The Nevada Northern Railway is actually a four-season railroad. We hold events throughout the entire year.
It's okay. Start over.
Okay? The Nevada Northern Railway is actually a four-season railroad. We have events every season of the year. In fact, we have an event in winter. Two of our major events in winter is the Polar Express. You can come to Ely, Nevada, and actually ride the train to the North Pole. And at the North Pole, Santa gets on the train, greets everyone on the train, and if you believe, Santa's helper will give you the silver bell. And then on the way back from the North Pole, we sing Christmas carols, and it's really become a Christmas tradition for people throughout Nevada. The other thing that we have are winter photo shoots. And the railroad is a National Historic Landmark, which doesn't mean a lot to some people, but the reason we're a National Historic Landmark is Locomotive 40 delivered brand new in 1910. Locomotive 93 delivered brand new in 1909. We still have those locomotives, and they're still doing today what their designers and builders intended over a century ago. They're still hauling trains. So the second weekend and the third weekend annually in February, we ditch all the modern equipment and we bring out the original equipment that has been here for over a century. And it's almost like you can time travel, because it is the original locomotive coming out of the original engine house, coupling up to the original train and heading out on the original track. It just doesn't get any better than that. And the other thing is the cold makes those steam locomotives really perform. There'll be huge plumes of steam as the locomotive accelerates. And the cool thing on the photo shoots is basically we load up here, we head out on the line, all the photographers get out, we back up the train comes forward, everyone gets their shot, we stop the train. If someone's not happy, we back up, we do it again. Once everyone's happy, we go to the next photo location and do it all over again. And usually the lighting conditions change. We'll have dramatic shadows. We'll have snow. It is just utterly amazing. A lot of the photographs from the photo shoots have won awards. Nevada Magazine has, they've placed first place with Nevada Magazine. So basically, you can come to Ely, shoot these wonderful photos, and you get National Geographic quality images. It is just truly, truly amazing. Strip the color out, and you can tell people, yeah, that's from 1910. It is really, really a special time of the year. Photo shoots are very hard on the staff because we're here from dark 30 till very late at night. But it is a very special time of the year, and you quite literally get award-winning photos. Ely is the most remote city in the continental United States. You just don't drop by Ely, you drive to Ely. And the railroad here is one of the reasons why people drive here. The main campus here is 56 acres with more than 70 buildings and structures, most of them dating from the very early days of the railroad, 1906 through 1910. It has been said the Nevada Northern Railway is like the workers all went to lunch and they just never came back. There are lockers here on the property that still have the workers' work clothes on them. It's still hanging in there. You can go into the machine shop. There's a memo on the wall from 1922, still hanging on the wall. And the cool thing about locomotives 40 and 93, they're doing today what their designers and builders intended over a century ago. You know, we have all these whiz-bang tools, the whole bit, but think about it. What tool or thing that you use today will your great-grandchildren be using in a century? Has to be the exact same item. I mean, we go down, we fire up locomotive 40, pull it out the door. We're continuing a very long line. This has been happening here in the case of Locomotive 40 since 1910. I mean, you can see the wear marks where the many engineers have been pulling out the throttle over the years. We're part of that long chain of people, and it's a continuing story. You know, quite frankly, when I'm gone, there'll be someone else who will be there pulling out that throttle. So I'm just part of a chain that started in 1910 and hopefully continues to 2110. So as you walk through the yard, especially in the early morning or on a snowy day today, when we have Locomotive 40 out and she's tooting her whistle, that's the same sound that has been rolling through this valley for over a century. I mean, it is a time capsule of America that, quite frankly, has disappeared throughout the entire country. This is the last place in the United States where you have the original locomotives, the original yard, the original buildings, and they have not been Disneyland yet. This is the real McCoy. You walk through our yard, you're going to get your shoes dirty, but that's the way it was. And when they go to fire off Locomotive 40, they're following the same procedures that the firemen and engineers have been following for over a century. And you go into the engine house and there's the huge wrenches for turning the big nuts on the locomotives. Those wrenches have been hanging on the wall since 1910. And when we do repairs on Locomotive 40, those wrenches come down, we use them, and then we put them back on the wall. It's just a truly amazing place. And what people don't realize is that the reason our country developed is because of railroading. During the darkest days of the Civil War, President Lincoln signed the Pacific Railroad Act because he believed it was important to tie both coasts of the country together with steel rails. And they actually did that. And you know, in parts of Nevada, the original transcontinental came through here, and it hasn't changed much in 150 years. But this is actually the story of America. There would be no major inland cities. There'd be no Reno. There'd be no Las Vegas. There'd be no Salt Lake City, no Denver without railroads. Why? Because you can't feed the people. So railroads made the development of our country possible, and they changed everything. When you look at your watch, right now, if I can get mine out, there we go. It is 3:15 Pacific Standard Time. Why do you say standard? It has nothing at all to do with daylight savings time. It goes back to the early days of the railroad. Echoes of the technology that created our country are scattered throughout this entire complex. And that's what makes it so incredibly special to myself and to the kids we bring here too. During the Polar Express, I mean, we run the Polar Express for the kids. And when you get a trainload of 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and you take them to the North Pole to see Santa, that is a very, very special experience. I think the crews have a little more fun than the parents do, really. You fire up one of these locomotives, you couple it up, you're following the same age-old traditions, and it is just major cool.